Here is a proposed UX and workflow for adding scheduling to the node edit form via Stateflow schedule. The first thing to note is the Publishing Options tab has been changed to say Publishing/Scheduling Options, and the Scheduled option has been added to this tab. Now, before I detail how these are going to work, the workflow, there's another issue that I've created in the state machine module issue queue, which I'm going to talk about here, which is pretty much a prerequisite for this functionality. And it is make published status work at the revision level on the node edit form. So I'm just going to kind of read through this because it's probably the best way to get through this. Currently, if a node is published and then a new revision of the node is created and marked as unpublished, the node gets unpublished and the new revision becomes the current revision. The requested behavior is that the node remains published and the new revision does not become the current revision. If the revision is marked as not published when saving, there should be logic checking if the node is published. If the node is published and either 1. Create new revision is chosen, or 2. The revision we're saving is not the current revision, then don't change the node status or its current revision. So, and let's go through the scenarios here. This may make it even easier. So scenario 1 is first you create a node and it's node 1, revision 1 gets created and you publish it. Then you go to the node, you edit it, and you create a new revision and you select not published for the revision. So to run those through really quick, let's say pretend we're creating a new node, we click publish, we save it, and then we come back and we choose create new revision here, and then, or it was set for us automatically depending on your settings, and then we go back in here and we uncheck published. So we would be saving the second revision at this point of a node that's published currently when we're editing this revision. So if we go back here, the result is that N1 remains published and that R1 is the current revision. So basically, when we're creating the second revision and we're saying that it's not published, we don't want to take away the published status of the node. We want to leave the node published, and therefore we need to leave the revision that was the current revision before the one that was published. You need to leave that remaining as the current revision rather than having the node take the one that we just edited here and making that the current revision. And then after that, we go into that second revision that we created. We edit it. We don't create a new revision. We just edit it, and we set it to not published. Still, N1 should continue being published, and R1 should continue to be the current revision of that published node. And then the fourth and final part of the scenario is we go into the current revision, which is R1. We edit it, and we mark it as not published. Then the result is that the node becomes unpublished, and R1, since it was the last revision that we edited, remains the current revision. And then just a quick one for a little contrast, scenario 2 is we create a new node, N2, and we publish it, and it's got R1, the first revision. And then we go into the node, we edit, we create a new revision, and we select published again. Then N2 is still published, and now R2 takes over as the current revision, which is the way it behaves now, but just to sort of make sure that, to keep that in mind with that. So with that in mind, with that kind of a workflow and those kind of rules in mind, let's take a look at what we can do here. So if we're editing whatever revision, we can mark the revision as published, and it'll take this revision and make it the current revision of the node, whether it's new, you're creating a new node, or you're editing an existing one, and whether the existing one you're editing is published already or not. It doesn't matter because you're going to publish it here and you're going to make this node the current revision. So that one's pretty easy. Then if we don't have published checked and this node is already published, we're not going to unpublish the node unless we're editing the same revision. Like if this is the published revision and then we have this option here and we don't create new revision and we don't have this published, then yeah, it will unpublish it. And then the next scenario would be if we click scheduled here, you can't have this revision be published. It wouldn't make sense. It's one state or the other. It's either your revision is scheduled, or it's published, or it's neither, which it would basically be a draft that's not scheduled, which is implicit, and maybe in the future could move the revision information in here. I don't know. It might be too much, but anyway. So yeah, you can schedule your revision right here, and whatever. And then if you click published, it'll take off the scheduled option. And then if you click schedule, it'll take off the published option, and it remembers what you had entered before. And yeah, so if this node is published, and you're, let's say, not creating a new revision and you do this, you're actually going to unpublish the node and change the state to scheduled. But if you did create a new revision right here in this case, you'd be creating revision 2. Revision 1 would remain published, and this revision would be scheduled to publish on whatever date you selected. And I think that pretty much does it. So, yeah.